الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. طيب, so we stopped at what he says ويكره التمطي. ويكره التمطي. This is makruhat, or some of the makruhat of the salah, continuing with the subject of what's makruh in the salah. The makruh, one of the definitions of it is that يثاب تاركه ولا يأثم فاعله. That whoever does not do the makruh, he gets reward because he didn't do it. But he does not get sins if he does it because it's not haram. And you would see that one of the common things among the makruhat, even though you might say, what's the dalil for this, what's the dalil for that? Most of it, or many of these makruhat of the salah, something that would weaken the khushu', for example, weaken the means of devotion to be devoted in the salah, or it makes the person closer to what's forbidden in the salah, or sometimes there's differences of opinions, and the opinion here that is supported that it's not haram or is not does not invalidate the salah, so they would put it under the makruh because it's closer to or the haram or what's forbidden. So many things like this you would find mentioned, and you can add to it also things that might come up in certain times and certain circumstances. So we'll see inshallah ta'ala. Here he says وَيُكْرَهْ التَّمَطِّي. What's makruh here? التَّمَطِّي. التَّمَطِّي is to stretch. When a person stretches their arms, when stretching in the salah. Is it something that it's permissible to be done in the salah? Of course, a person in salah, he should not do these things. But in the fiqh, again, in the context of fiqh, it discusses here what invalidates the salah versus what the opposite of that. Not that what needs to be done necessarily or we should be devoted in the salah. Someone stretched in the salah. Does he have to repeat the salah? The answer is no. Should he do that? No, he shouldn't, of course. That's against the etiquettes and the manners that a person should observe in the salah. So ويكره التمطي. So التمطي is to stretch in the salah. وفتح فمه. فتح الفم. الفم is the mouth, opening one's mouth. عبث becomes part of just playing in the salah or nonsense for no reason. That also affects the khushu' of the person. So the list of these things, this is not exclusive, but just as examples. وفتح فمه, opening his mouth for no reason. Something might get inside things that is distracting and so on. ووضعه فيه شيئا لا في يده. To put something in one's mouth. ووضعه, for the musalli, to put in it, meaning in his mouth, شيئا, something. Eating in the salah is not permissible, invalidates it. But having something in the mouth, a piece of paper, for example, or anything that is just, sometimes people have bad habits. So if something in one's mouth, it's makruh, of course, to do that in the salah. We're not talking about eating here, just having something in the mouth. لا في يده, not if it's in his hand. If someone has something in his hand and there's a reason for it, that is not makruh in the salah. For example, a tissue that he has in his hand, so that if he sneezes, for example, he would blow his nose, something like this. So if something in his hand, but as long as it does not distract him in the salah. Well, and of course, in the mouth, he's not going to be able to make the recitation properly. It might affect the way that he recites. The thing would move in his mouth while reciting the Quran. So that's why it's more mentioned here, not in the hands. وأن يصلي وبين يديه ما يلهيه. Another thing is أن يصلي, that he prays, and in front of him. بين يديه literally means between his hands, but it means in front of him. بين أيديهم وما خلفهم. So بين أيديهم, that means in front of them. So when a person prays and something in front of him, ما يلهيه, that distracts him. He prays when something in front of him distracts him. This is something that is wide open to all kinds of things. Anything that distracts the person that is in front of him during the salah, this is something makruh. He should stay away from it or go somewhere else where he's able to focus on the salah. Also, as mentioned, al-makruh, if it's needed, it becomes not makruh. If it's disliked, but it's needed, there's a haja, or there's no way out, then it's not makruh in this case because a person doesn't have a choice. So وأن يصلي وبين يديه ما يلهيه أو صورة منصوبة ولو صغيرة, or surah, image, Mansuba erected in front of him, even if it's small, even if it's a small picture or an image. It says إيه صورة? Is it all images or the images that are not permissible? So the image, if there's a picture drawn with one's hand of a living creature, human beings or animals, especially again the head, الرأس الصورة, الصورة الرأس, then of course this is obvious that is not permissible. It's also makruh. It's makruh. But here in general, and this is where the madhab is upon this, any surah, any image, because it distracts. If it's haram, then it's not permissible, of course. But if it's any image, because it's part of what distracts the person in the salah. أو صورة منصوبة. That's why mansuba, that means right in front of him. ولو صغيرة, even if it's small. أو نجاسة, praying in front of a najasa, something impure. The salah is valid, but it's makruh because we're commanded to stay away from any najasat, any impurities, and it's against the respect and honoring the salah. أو باب مفتوح, praying in front of an open door. Again, it's permissible, but open door, even if nobody enters, because they say maybe someone will enter from the door. But even if no one will enter, but the fact that the person is praying to an open door, that distracts. What if someone comes in? Things that he would think about, things to distract him in the salah. أو باب مفتوح. أو إلى نار من قنديل أو شمعة. Or praying in front of a fire, whether it's from qandil or shama. Qandil is the what's qandil in English? Lamp, lantern. Yes, where it has oil and they put the fire, or any. It doesn't have to be that particular one. Or sham'a, or a candle. But why these specific ones? Because it's imitation of those who worship the fire, or those who use fire or candles in their worship. So can a Muslim light a candle and has a symbol or as a ritual? Of course, that's not permissible. So to pray in front of a candle, for example, even though that you don't take this as a ritual in the salah, that's why it's mentioned as makruh. If someone believe in it, of course, this is a disaster, of course, for a Muslim. But this is in the case that it just happened to be that way and it's in front of him. No, this is makruh, disliked. He should stay away from this so that he does not look like he's imitating those who whether worship fire or this is part of the rituals and ibadah. والرمز بالعين. الرمز is the sign. الرمز, any rams, whether it's in a book or here بالعين with one's eyes. So any gesture with one's eyes. Why would a person do that in the salah? Might be for a reason. If it's for a haja, it's not makruh. If there's a reason why he's doing it, to stop harm that might happen, doing something with his eyes, something in the salah to save a child from falling or something like this, then in that case, it's not makruh. But to move one's eyes to give signs with one's eyes, this is, of course, distracts the person and it steals from one's salah. As the Prophet ﷺ, he mentioned about the one that steals from his salah, stealing a look even, takes away from the rewards of the salah. And the importance of looking at the place of sujood. والإشارة لغير حاجة. الإشارة is to point. So الرمز بالعين is eye gestures. الإشارة pointing with one's finger, one's hands. لغير حاجة, without a reason. So for example, if someone is in the salah and someone said salam, you can point with your forefinger or the hand to reply for the salam. This is there's a need for it if someone would give the salam. But to point again for a reason, there's a valid reason, then in this case it's not makruh. But just to do it without a valid reason, then it's makruh. وإخراج لساني. It will come inshallah ta'ala afterwards when these types of things might invalidate the salah. It makes the person closer to إبطال الصلاة, because for example if he makes lots of movement one after the other, that invalidates the salah. But one ishara, one pointing to something like this because of no need, this is makruh. والإشارة لغير حاجة وإخراج لسانه, to stick one's tongue outside as a way of playing in the salah. Not that he's doing that for a reason. وأن يصحب ما فيه صورة من فص أو نحوه. وأن يصحب, that he has with him, from a suhbah, companionship, that means he has with him, carries with him what has image, whether it's فص, gem, أو نحوه, or the like of this. A picture in a ring, in a, on his shirt, has an image on his shirt, image of a living thing, or even something in his clothing that be distracting, as the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, when he was given a gift, ambijaniya, the type of clothing or a garment that has lines in it. And the Prophet ﷺ, he returned it back to Abu Jahm, and he said to him, to make him feel at ease, he asked him for something else, so that he does not feel bad that he's returning the gift. He said, إنها ألهتني عن صلاتي آنفا. He said, alayhi salatu wasalam, it distracted me from my salah just before that. That means distracting him alayhi salatu wasalam, from these lines that are in his garment. So, وأن يصحب ما فيه صورة من فص أو نحوه. وصلاته إلى متحدث. Also, it's makruh to make salah in front of mutahaddith. Someone is sitting talking and he's praying right there. Of course, this is again distracts the person and the issue of khushu'. وصلاته إلى متحدث. And mutahaddith, someone is speaking. أو نائم, or praying in front of someone that is sleeping. Even though the Prophet ﷺ would pray the night prayer while Aisha radiallahu anha is in front of him, and whenever he would want to make sujood alayhi salatu wasalam, فغمزها. He would, al-ghamz is to touch in a slight way, so she would move her leg for him to make sujood, and this because of the tightness of the room. But in general, if a person has a choice, this is also something that can be distracting. أو نائم. أو كافر, or in front of someone that is a disbeliever. أو وجه آدمي, or in front of a face of a human being, someone facing him. Like for example, in the masjid, if someone is praying, completing his salah, and he was in the saf, and someone is in front of him, or people come for praying tahiyatul masjid or salatul jumu'ah, and masjid is lots of people, so he prays, he even takes a human being as his sutra. This is valid, but his back. But if someone having his face towards him, this is not something that is good to pray towards someone that is facing him. Makruh, it's makruh. And Umar radiallahu anhu used to forbid people from this. Also, it looks as if he's praying to him. So to avoid this. But if he's towards the back of a person sitting, then that's fine. أو إلى امرأة تصلي بين يديه, or a woman sitting in front of him and he's making salah, because this also can be distracting with desires and things like this. So these are some of the examples where he mentioned. وإن غلبه تثاؤب. Now he says وإن غلبه تثاؤب. التثاؤب is yawning. So إن غلبه, that means he's overpowered. If someone is yawning, and yawning, that means a person is overpowered. It's not a choice. But if someone trying to bring yawning in the salah, this is abath, this is playing in the salah. So that's why وَإِنْ غَلَبَهُ, if he's overpowered by yawning, then كَظَمَ نَدْبًا. To suppress it, this is recommended. So not to be at ease with it. And the word kadham did not say to put your hand on the mouth. He said to make kadhm of a tatha'ub. And al-kadhm is to suppress it, to keep your teeth together, like this, for example. You're making kadhm of a tatha'ub. This is what is meant here. If a person is not able, فَإِن لَمْ يَقْدِرْ, if he's not able to suppress the tatha'ub or the yawning, وَضَعَ يَدَهُ عَلَى فَمِهِ, then he puts his hand on his mouth, so that he does not leave his mouth open like this and yawning. And kadhmul tatha'ub, this is always recommended, because this is to prevent oneself from being lazy, especially in the salah. وإن غلبه تثاؤب كظم ندبا. ندبا يعني استحبابا. فإن لم يقدر, if he's not able to, وضع يده على فمه, he puts his hand on his mouth. ويكره, continuing with the makruhat, also makruh, ويكره أن يكون حاقنا. حاقنا حال دخوله في الصلاة. It's disliked that he is حاقن at the time when he enters the salah, when he starts the salah, being حاقن. What is حاقن? الحاقن هو المحتبس بوله, the one that is holding himself from urinating. البول is urinating. Urine is bowl. So al-muhtabis from al-habs, when you withhold something, when you put something in hostage or in a prison. So al-muhtabisu bawlu, al-bawl is muhtabis. Who's muhtabis? Al-bawl. Al-bawl wants to come out, but he's holding it. So this is the haqin. But he says here, because we have to be careful with the words, حال دخوله. This is before he entered the salah, before he started the salah, he feels that he wants to go to the bathroom. Then it's makruh for him to start the salah. He should go relieve himself, as is going to be mentioned, even if he misses Salatul Jama'ah, yes. Unless there's only 1 minute left for the time of the salah to finish, then he should make salah. It's only makruh. So unless he's not able to, he's gonna, explode, then it's a different situation. So ويكره أن يكون حاقنا. This is the حاقن. الحاقن is المحتبس بول. We did not mention here. To know the terminologies, يعني for the sake of knowing that, is الحاقن with the noon is the one that holds himself from urinating. Wants to go to the bathroom to urinate, but he's holding himself. الحاقد. What is the meaning? Is the one that holds. He wants to go to defecate. He wants to go to the bathroom, but not urine the other one. Number 2. And there is al-haziq. Al-haziq is the one that is holding himself from passing wind. That's al-haziq. So he says, وَكَذَا كُلُّ مَا يَمْنَعُ كَمَالَهَا. This is also the same for anything that prevents the person from perfecting the salah. So not just these things that are mentioned, anything that prevents the person from perfecting and completing the salah, and al-kamal, or perfection or completing the salah, not just the physical actions, but also the khushu' in the heart. And the khushu', what is the ruling of the khushu'? Yes, if many said mustahab and so on, some said it's mandatory, which is an obligatory thing for the person to have khushu'. But to understand that when some of the ulama, they say that the khushu' is mustahab. Why? Because sometimes it's overpowering. So if something that is beyond one's capacity, it cannot be an obligation. But it's an obligation for the person to make sure that he has khushu'. He takes the means to have khushu', and the rewards in the salah is according to how much the heart is present, and that is the khushu'. وَالَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ الَّذِينَ هُمْ فِي صَلَاتِهِمْ خَاشِعُونَ. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala praised the believers. The first characteristics mentioned in Surah Al-Mu'minun is that those who are in their salah instead of khushu'. وَكَذَا كُلُّ مَا يَمْنَعُ كَمَالَهَا. Anything that prevents the kamal, the perfection of the salah. Like what? كَاحْتِبَاسِ غَائِطٍ. احتباس غائط, which is holding himself from relieving himself to go to the bathroom. أو ريح, or wind. وحر وبرد. Hot and cold. If he's able to prevent himself from being extremely hot and also being extremely cold, that also distracts the person. But if this is the only way, then he needs to be patient and make salah to the best of his ability. وجوع وعطش مفرط. Hunger and thirst, mufrit, extreme. Not just any hunger or any thirst. Mufrit, that means he will be just thinking about food. So if he's able to remove that by eating something, by drinking something for the sake of the salah, so that he have khushu' in the salah, this is a good thing. Otherwise it becomes makruh. لأنه يمنعه الخشوع. All of that and this is because it prevents him, deprives him from al-khushu', the devotion, the heart being present in the salah. وسواء خاف فوات الجماعة أو لا. سواء, that means it's the same. It's the like, whether he fears to miss the jama'ah or no. Especially with the last point about holding oneself from relieving, going to the bathroom. Because there's a nas here, there's a hadith of the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم لا صلاة بحضرة طعام ولا وهو يدافعه الأخبثان. رواه مسلم عن عائشة رضي الله عنها. لا صلاة, no salah, and the meaning of it, no salah kamila, no complete salah, no perfect salah. And that means do not make salah also بحضرة طعام, in the presence of the food. When the food is right there and you're making ta'am, because you will desire the food. So you'll be distracted in your salah. ولا وهو يدافع الأخبثان. Also not to make salah while the akhbathan, the two impurities, which refers to the urine and defecating. يدافعه, struggling with him. That means he's struggling with himself. He should not make salah while he's in that state. And the ulama, they went into the details. This is as حال دخوله, before entering the salah. What if it happens, start to happen in the second rak'ah? Now he's in salah. What should he do? Should he leave the salah? No, he shouldn't. If it's bearable and it's not too much, if it's the mudafa'a, now he's not able to control himself or it's very difficult, then of course it's valid for him to leave the salah so that he can relieve himself and then start over the salah. So this is the subject of the makruh with regards to al-haqin and so on. أو بحضرة طعام يشتهي. Also, if he is in presence with طعام, food that يشتهي. So the hadith لا صلاة بحضرة طعام. What if someone just ate? He ate and he's full, everything is fine, and the food is still on the floor, on the table, and he missed Salatul Jama'ah, so they're making Jama'ah right there, and the food is there. Whoever takes literally what the hadith says, that means it's makruh to pray while the food is present. No, it's about the food that is present and you have تشتهي, you're desiring the food, you want to eat. So this is why they say أو بحضرة طعام يشتهي, in the presence of a food that he desired that food. فتكره صلاته إذا لما تقدم. His salah becomes makruh because of what mentioned before. ولو خاف فوات الجماعة, even if he fears that he would miss the jama'ah, not the entire fard, the jama'ah. And there's evidences of that even from the companions radiallahu anhum, and the hadith of the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, إذا قدم العشاء, if the dinner comes in, وأقيمت صلاة المغرب, and the Maghrib salah, they used to make their dinner after Maghrib or before Maghrib, around this time, not after Isha. And the Iqama is made for Maghrib, فابدأوا بالعشاء. You start with the Asha. Al-Asha is the dinner, the meal during the night. You start that first before you make Salatul Maghrib because you desire it. If it's already put and a person desires the food. Abdullah ibn Umar, the food will be present and the Iqama is made and he's cutting the meat with his knife. And this is not every day, this is not every salah, this is not being neglecting the salah. This is once in a while if it happens like this. This is, of course, following the way the Prophet ﷺ is to start with the food and then to join the salah. He says, وَإِنْ ضَاقَ الْوَقْتُ, and all of that so that the khushu' is observed. But وَإِنْ ضَاقَ الْوَقْتُ عَنْ فِعْلِ جَمِيعِهَا وَجَبَتْ فِي جَمِيعِ الْأَحْوَالِ وَحَرُمَ اشْتِغَالُهُ بِغَيْرِهَا. إِنْ ضَاقَ الْوَقْتُ, if the time is tight, عن فعل جميعها, tight from able to finish the entire salah, then وجبت في جميع الأحوال, then it becomes obligatory upon him in any case, whether he wants to go to the bathroom or not, he needs to make the salah. Unless he is not able to, that's a different, this is darura, then this is a necessity. But whatever is makruh mentioned before, if the time is tight for him, that means the time of the salah will end, that means he has to make the salah. And not just ضاق الوقت, وقت الضرورة, also وقت الاختيار. We know that Salatul Isha has Salatul Asr, Salatul Asr, and Salatul Isha, as mentioned before, has two times to it. وقت الاختيار, the time where a person would choose to make the Salah, the beginning of its time, and وقت الضرورة. وقت الضرورة is when the sun for Asr turns yellow. This is not a time when a person should choose to delay Asr to that time. It's not permissible. Unless it's a necessity or there was a circumstances. But so here in this case, if a person, there's very few minutes left for the sun to turn yellow and he wants to go to the bathroom, no, make your salah. Not that it's before the sun sets. And the same thing, the middle of the night. The night from Maghrib till Fajr, you divide that by 2. This is the end time of the time of Salatul Isha, ikhtiyaran, by choice. So you're close to the middle of the night, not midnight, and a person wants to use the bathroom, but not in a way that he is not able to control himself, then he should still make Salatul Isha first. This is all what this sentence means. وَإِنْ ضَاقَ الْوَقْتُ عَنْ فِعْلِ جَمِيعِهَا. Time is very tight to establish the entire Salah. وَجَبَتْ فِي جَمِيعِ الأحوال, then it becomes mandatory to make the Salah in this case, in any case. وَحَرُمَ اشْتِغَالُهُ بِغَيْرِهَا. It's haram for him to be busy with other than the Salah, because the time is very tight and you can only make the salah in this time. Anything else, that means you will pass the time of the salah. That's why this is حرم اشتغال بغيرها. This is general rule at all times. If someone woke up, for example, or even sinful, he's just he committed a sin by delaying the salah so much, and now he realized there is only 5 minutes for the salah. Then it's not permissible to do anything except to be busy with what makes him make the salah. If he does something else which is mubah, which is permissible, but at that time it's not permissible because there's no time for him to make the salah. So he has to be busy with the salah. وحرم اشتغاله بغيرها. This is if ضاق الوقت, when the time is tight. We'll take that to the end of the page, inshallah. It says ويكره أن يخص جبهته بما يسجد عليها. Also makruh that he يخص جبهته. يخص, that means make himself. The jabha is the forehead. So to make a special thing for him, to put his forehead on the ground بما يسجد عليه when he makes sujood. يخص جبهته. And there is something special for the forehead. لأنه من شعائر الرافضة, because this is one of the ways of the Rafida. The Rafida, they do this when they make sujood. So it's not permissible, it's makruh here. And يخص جبهته. But if it's not مخصوص for the jabha, that means it's the carpet all over the room, then it's not يخص جبهته. Just to have something special for the jabha. And sometimes people might do this because they don't want to get their forehead to be dirty. So they would put something only for their forehead. No, this is makruh. It does not invalidate the salah, but it's makruh. ويكره, but if it's wide enough that it's, for the entire face, then it's okay. ويكره أن يخص جبهته بما يسجد عليه لأنه من شعار الرافضة. الشعار is the slogan or the things that makes a person unique or known by. So if someone comes and he put the stone, then it's known that they are from the Rafida, and it's not permissible to imitate them. And the Prophet ﷺ never done that. The Sahaba radiallahu anhum, this is all made up religion. He says ومسح أثر سجوده في الصلاة. It's also makruh to wipe athar, the traces of the sujood in the salah. And there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ that gives this meaning, unless it's only one time. And the reason for that is for the person not to be too much strict in the issue of, it's not about cleanliness, but it's about being extreme. So if a person makes sujood and there are dust on his forehead, so what? It's nothing wrong with that. During the salah, to keep on doing this movement in the salah, just leave it. Unless a person it's causing him to be distracted, then he wipes. And if he has to do this, one time is sufficient. وَمَسُّ لِحْيَتِهِ. وَمَسُّ لِحْيَتِهِ, to touch his beard during the salah for no reason. He's just playing with himself like this. This is all makruh. It can lead again to invalidation of the salah, as it's going to be mentioned after the list of the makruhat. وَعَقْصُ شَعْرِهِ. عقص الشعر. We talked about عقص الشعر before. There is الضفائر is the braids, right? But al-aqs is when the hair is twisted, whether it's to be twisted like making a twist or bun, like this. This is all only for men, of course, not for women. Women can do these things. But for a man, al-aqs is to roll the hair, whether it's to make a bun or a tail or any of this. So this is عقص الشعر. This is makruh. وكف ثوبه, and the kaf of the garment. ونحوه, the like of the thawb, whether it's izar or anything. Al-kaf is to fold one's garment, cloth over clothing. Or when it's not folded, but whenever he goes for sujood, this is the original form of al-kaf here, is to bring both sides of the garment to make him to roll them and put them between his legs, and he goes down for the sujood. That means he folded the garment over one another. So this is kaffu thawbihi. And the sha'r is for a man. If he has a long hair, is to leave it loose, and it makes sujood with him. To make sujood with him, and there's a reward in this to leave it like this. And it's makruh, and some said it's forbidden because the hadith clearly states not to do that. But this is only for men. Women, if they do this, their hair will show. وكف ثوبه ونحوه ولو فعلهما لعمل قبل صلاته. ولو فعلهما لعمل قبل صلاته. This is continuing. Sometimes the commas are misleading. So وعقص شعره وكف ثوبه ونحوه ولو فعلهما لعمل قبل صلاته. So ولو فعلهما لعمل قبل صلاته, this is not separate مسألة here. This is continuing the previous sentence. Meaning it's makruh to twist the hair or to fold the clothing in the salah, even if he did that for a work that he was doing before the salah. So a man has a long hair and he's working, so he get his hair together or folding his clothing, and he was doing that before the salah. Now it's time for the salah. A person would say, but I'm at ease, so let me just pray in the same position that I'm in. No, let it loose when you're starting the salah. ولو فعلهما لعمل, even if he did that, meaning العقص والكف. This is مثنى, dual, referring to العقص والكف. Even if he did these two things لعمل, for some work that he's doing قبل صلاته, before his salah. ونهى الإمام رجلا كان إذا سجد جمع ثوبه بيده اليسرى. ونهى الإمام, he refers here to Imam Ahmad رحمه الله. He forbade a man, رجلا كان إذا سجد, this man, whenever he would make sujood, جمع ثوبه بيده اليسرى. He would bring his clothing together with his left hand, folding his clothes with his left hand. So he's not doing the normal or the famous way of keft, but he still brought the garment together with his left hand. He forbade him from this. ونقل ابن القاسم. Ibn al-Qasim here, let's see it in the footnote. There are more than one Ibn al-Qasim, but Ibn al-Qasim here is someone that narrated things from Imam Ahmad rahimahullah, not the Maliki one. نقل, he narrated by saying يكره أن يشمر بثيابه لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم ترب. يكره, it's disliked, أن يشمر. التشمير is to fold up the clothing or the garment, بثيابه, with his clothing. لقوله صلى الله عليه وسلم, because the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام, he said ترب, even though this narration is weak. And the meaning of ترب from a turab. Turab is the dust. And ترب, it's a فعل أمر. That means let it be on the dust. Let it be on the dust. Do not fold your garment, because why would a person do this? Because he doesn't want the garment to be on the dust when he makes sujood, for example. And that's the same thing. Sometimes we say, for example, you're wearing a white garment and it happened that you're going to pray in the streets or on the side or something like this. It is part of that is to lift the garment so that you would put your knees on the ground and not touch. This is all falls into this makruh. So be at ease with it. And unless it's going to cause harm, stain that would never be removed, that's a different situation. So قولي ترب. We'll stop here, inshallah. There's still more of what's mentioned of the makruh. And we ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to make us comprehend the deen, inshallah. If there's any questions? First of all, the attendance code is khushu'. The attendance code is khushu'. And you see the ulama, rahimahullah, in subject of fiqh, listing things. And of course, the khushu', this is such an important thing in the salah. And when all of these things they talk about it, it's because of the importance of the khushu'. Sometimes a person, if he does not have any of these things, he might still not have khushu'. So it's not about, I perfected my salah if I didn't do any of these things, when he's thinking about the whole world while he's making salah. The goal of this is to protect the heart from being distracted, to be in state of khushu'. One of the questions, بعض النساء تضع طرف الحجاب تحت الجبهة أثناء السجود لسبب مرضي كالحساسية من السجاد، فهل هذا أيضا مكروه؟ لا، هذا لا بأس، وهذا ليس في هذا ذكر ما ذكر هنا من المسائل، فقط ما يخص الجبهة. أما في هذه الحالة فلا بأس. وكذلك للرجال. The question was if a woman put part of her hijab or the scarf under on her forehead when she makes sujood because she has allergy or something like this from the carpet. This is not something, this is from her clothing. There's no harm in this, inshallah ta'ala. If it involves lots of movement in the salah, then it's disliked. But if there's a reason, as we said, if there's a haja, Once there's a reason, then it's not makruh. So if there's allergy or something like this, then it's no harm, inshallah. Walaikum salam. Can we please explain more on holding the wind? Is it in cases of extreme desire passing the wind, but holding it, or any time when wind comes? Sometimes wind comes right after completing the wudu. Is it okay to hold it? The issue here is about distraction. So if a person is being distracted, is struggling with his own self, this is where the karaha comes in place. A person should relieve himself and then to have at ease and tranquility in the salah. But if someone, it's there, but it's not, there's no mudafa'a, there's no struggling with oneself, then there's no harm in this. It's not distracting him. And if a person is in the salah and this happens, then he should continue the salah unless he's not able to control himself. No. So is a man tying his hair and rolling his sleeves in general makruh in or outside of the salah? No, this is in the salah. It's makruh in the salah. Outside of the salah, it's not makruh unless he's imitation of women. That's a different situation. That's haram, for example. Or, but it's what's meant here is in the salah. موضوع وأن يصلي وبين يديه وما يلهيه. Yes, وما يلهيه. أن يصلي وبين يديه ما يلهيه. That it's makruh to make salah and in front of him. بين يديه is in front of him. ما يلهيه, what distracts him from الإلهاء, from اللهو. الفص is the gem. Like if it's on a ring and he has in the ring, what do you call that thing in the ring? Gem? Am I saying it right? Right. So if there's a picture in it or something. No. يشمر. نعم. يشمر, that means to fold. يكره أن يشمر بثياب. التشمير is to fold the clothing up. That's التشمير. Yeah, whether it's in the pants or in the shirt. Because this is different than الكفت. The folding up is is a form of keft because it's putting clothing on top of clothing. But tashmir is specific for folding up. But if something that is sewed, like most of the garments, you would have this is not tashmir, this is not keft because it's permanent. Like the garment has the end. What do you call this part? Does it have a name? Anyone? Okay, so this is okay. This is not keft. The keft is what you do with the clothing itself. شمرة with a شدة. Yeah. شمرة يشمر now. I was going to mention that and I forgot. SubhanAllah. Some people they make tashmir of the sirwal or the pants to avoid al-isbal, to avoid having the garment below the ankles in the salah. So outside of the salah they have the pants below the ankle. So, but when they come for the salah, they make tashmir so that it's above or on the ankles. This is not from the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. It should be the same before and after the salah, and during the salah, and that is not to go below the ankles. On the ankle, it's okay, but not underneath it. So if a person does this, this is from the makruhat of the salah to make tashmir. And at the same time, they're in between two things. They would make the salah with isbal or to make a makruh in the salah, and that is to make tashmir. And both are makruh, of course, but one is more dangerous than the other, which is to have the garment below the ankle in the salah. No, if a person, the tashmir is in the salah, but if someone is having the tashmir, he folding up his clothing outside of the salah, in the salah he has to let it loose. So it's okay for him outside of the salah. If he's not in salah and he's folding his garment, no problem, he can do that. But once he starts the salah, he has to make it loose and unfold it. نعم عقص الشعر كذلك. Outside the salah, he can make عقص الشعر, he can do whatever he wants with his hair. But once he starts the salah, he has to undo it. Oh, there's a question. Okay, is feeling stressed about things to the point of not having full khushu', like being overpowered? If a person is overpowered, he's overpowered. That means it only the outcome of this, maybe there's no sins. If a person is overpowered, that means he's not sinful. If he's overpowered. But of course, in that case, a person should still continue to make the salah, whether he's stressed or not, whether he's, as we said in these examples. And that's why to take the means and to be truthful, what causing the stress? Is it thinking or it's some chemicals being disturbances? That's a different situation. So in this case, there's no sin on the person if he's overpowered. نعم. طيب بارك الله فيكم. Continue إن شاء الله next time. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. سبحانك اللهم ربنا وبحمدك أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت أستغفرك وأتوب إليك.